Hello, my name is Cher Grieving, and this is my Module 8 for EDL 851, Teacher Evaluations. First of all, the teacher evaluation procedure used in my district is the McCrell model. And as you can see here, I have the emblem of McCrell with what it stands for, a summary evaluation conference, summary evaluation rating form, and professional development plan. Those are three components of the McCrell system. So what that means when it talks about professional development plan, our district chooses two goals that we put into the McCrell evaluation. We each have our online program with username and password, and we first put in our district goals and how we expect to meet those goals for the school year, and then we are to choose three personal goals that we expect to meet throughout the school year. My personal goals in special ed have been working on inclusion, making sure my kiddos get into the general education classroom, evaluating effectively, communicating those scores with parents, and then my third one was usage of technology in the classroom. As you go through the McCrell system, once you choose your goals, then you do a checklist of skills. You do a self-evaluation while checking off the skills that you feel that you are proficient at. You also can check categories such as advancing or needs improvement, and so there are three different categories that you check off with each personal skill listed in the McCrell system, and then the administrator will do his or her evaluation on you while using the McCrell system, and all of that is wrapped up in the McCrell program. All of that is in there: your goals, your self checklist, the administrator's evaluation. It all falls under your McCrell profile. At my school, who is evaluated? The new teachers, years 1 through 3, are evaluated once each semester, so twice a year. After or during year 4, you are evaluated only one time that year, and then 5 or plus years of experience means that you are only evaluated every 3 years. When talking to my administrator about this, he said that quite frankly, yes, everyone with 5 or more years of experience is supposed to have an evaluation, and he will do that evaluation, but maybe sometimes they won't go through the entire process in McCrell for that evaluation if there are no concerns. Part of the evaluation process that happens yearly and weekly, I should say, are what we call walkthroughs, and these are conducted by either the superintendent or the principal, or they can both come into your room at the same time. But what this means is, as I'm teaching, if I have a walkthrough, the principal or the superintendent will come into the classroom and just look to see what I'm doing for 5 minutes or so and then leave. No questions asked. They don't interrupt the lecture unless I ask them to interrupt. They don't talk to the students unless I take that back. They will talk to the students and ask the students what they are doing or what they are working on if they're doing independent seat work. But if I'm lecturing, they will not bother the students. They have a device in their hands and they're checking off the checklist that is in McCrell as to what I am doing well and what I need to improve on. And then as soon as they leave my classroom, they shoot back the report, which provides me immediate feedback to know what they saw in my classroom, what they would like to see different. So I took a snapshot of an old walkthrough that I had, I think, in 2015 or so. And on this snapshot here, it just has my name and then the McCrell walkthrough. This is just who we purchased the program from. This is my principal, the time and date. Time started, time ended. You can see it's exactly 5 minutes. Shows that he was in my 7th grade social studies class. And then a couple of other components of the McCrell. I just snapshotted a couple of sections here for you to see. This is what I get back in an email. My principal on 1.11 saw that I was using practicing as a form of learning, an indicator of learning. I was using student discussion, and I was using student-directed question and answer. Now, you're certainly not expected to be using all of those indicators of learning, but they do like to check off what they observe. And then in 1.9, this is this is why I always have the goal of usage of technology in my classroom. You can see teacher directed technology, none. He did not see me using any technology at this time walking through my classroom. It just so happened that I went many weeks of teaching, and each time I had a walkthrough, I was not showing a PowerPoint or I was not using the iPads at that time. And so I was getting, I wouldn't say I'm getting counted off or points deducted. This is just a gentle reminder that says, hey, you need to use some form of technology in your classroom. That's our goal. That's what we need to work on. Also, I don't have on here, but another checkbox that takes place is your objective for the day posted on the board? And so this is something we started a couple years ago. All teachers every single day are to post the objective for that lesson on the board, so students immediately know when they walk into your classroom what the lesson is going to be about that day. I personally like it, and I refer to the objective while I'm lecturing. Sometimes when I'm lecturing, they'll say, oh, so we're going to lead into the Civil War next because I've posted an objective about the Civil War, and it's a good way for them to make connections. So those walkthroughs are all part of the McCrell evaluation. The process of our evaluation, again, I've kind of already talked about this, but we complete our pages in McCrell all online. We complete our self-evaluation. We set up a pre-conference with our principal or superintendent. We set a time and date. My principal lets me choose when I want him to come in and which lesson I want him to observe. Then we have the big evaluation day where they come in and try to spend at least a couple of hours in your room. And then we have a post-conference where we evaluate my strengths and my weaknesses. And then I have a chance to reflect back and write a reflection part in McCrell on how I thought the evaluation went, what things I'm happy about, what things I need to work on. So if a teacher argues their evaluation or feels like they have inaccurate information on their evaluation, can they fight dismissal if that's what it comes to? First of all, we've had this happen in my school. I have personally talked to 2 teachers who were being dismissed. The superintendent came into their classroom the day after a board meeting and said, I'm sorry, but we have decided to go separate ways for the next school year. So at the end of this school year, you will no longer be a teacher here. We are asking for you to, we are dismissing you. And then, of course, immediately the question is why? Why? And I know that the superintendent did not give any reasons why to that teacher when talking face-to-face to her. Instead, he said, I'm sorry, this is just the way it's going to have to be. And he walked out of the room. Well, when she's talking to me and crying to me about this, my questions were, has he talked to you at all this school year about things that he didn't like or that you needed to do better? And the teacher said, no, I don't think so. But as we visited more, she said, well, my walkthroughs weren't always good, and I did get some emails about how I needed to improve. And he was in my classroom a lot, so I told her, in my mind, you've got to look at your walkthrough feedback and immediately try to change the things that they're suggesting on that document that they send to you. They don't have to give you a reason, and my superintendent doesn't like to give reasons. He's not going to put any words into someone's mouth from a conversation that may have happened in a board meeting in executive session. He just simply says, we've decided to go separate directions. If this teacher is a National Education Association member of the union, they will have an attorney provided for them, and they may have part of their legal fees paid for if they decide to pursue a court case and fight the dismissal. But one thing I would really consider are the legal fees. I mean, you could go into large amounts of debt and fight this dismissal and not win, and now not have a job and be in debt, when maybe it's just best, in which these 2 teachers, in their case, they just They just left peacefully, found jobs right away because the superintendent, actually it turned out to be, you need to resign, and they resigned, and it didn't go down on record that they were being fired. An example of a legal case that I researched and read about was Woodside Elementary School District versus a physical education teacher. This happened in California. I believe it was a kindergarten through 8th grade school district, and this particular teacher was a tenured PE teacher. He was asked to leave the district because of multiple reasons. The article states that he used inappropriate actions such as cursing during class. He was always using his cell phone. He was leaving students unsupervised, and probably the one that I should have written down first is he showed favoritism. Well, evidently he was showing favoritism to the wrong students because the Board of Education asked for him to leave. And he did not think he had done anything wrong for dismissal, so he appealed. The school voted to pursue dismissal, so of course now we're going to court. And the court has a panel. I'm guessing that's, it kind of explained it as a court that took place just a court for school-related issues such as this. Anyway, the panel favored in the side of the teacher and told the school board that for the reasons they had listed, those were not reasons that require dismissal. Those are reasons that require improvement, but certainly not dismissal. And so this school spent over $350,000 just fighting this case and lost. So if I am a future administrator, what steps can I take to prevent legal issues while evaluating teachers? First of all, I know that the teacher evaluation process is in the school handbook, and I need to make sure that I am following that policy word for word, and I do not deviate from that because I think I can. I need to document every conversation, every extra visit I may have had in a classroom. Walkthroughs are a great way of documenting information, and those never go away. They're just saved on your computer. A document so that you can prove you've had conversations, so you can prove you've asked for improvement. And then communicate. Make sure that if you have an issue with a teacher, that you're communicating that with someone. The principal communicates with the superintendent communicates with the board. So there are no surprises. Remain fair and consistent. Do not pick on certain teachers just because you don't like that person or they treat your son or daughter differently. You cannot do that. You have to remain fair and consistent with everyone. No surprises. If you don't have your documentation, if you haven't communicated, then you're asking for dismissal. That's a surprise. It's probably not going to go over well. And I think that was the case that I talked about with the PE teacher earlier. And then if I think that I'm headed towards dismissal, I need to gain legal advice from representatives and make sure again that I'm following policy and not deviating from it because I think I know. So again, document, communicate, I think remain fair and consistent are the three most important. I enjoyed this lesson. I think I learned much from it. Thank you for listening.